Hello. Hello. Welcome to day 22 of the Alcohol Experiment by Annie Grace. My name is Melissa O'Malley. I'm just reading straight from the brilliant work of Annie Grace. If you would like more information, visit alcoholexperiment.com, or you can always reach out to me. I would love to support you. Today's chapter is called Drinking Due to Unmet Needs. And it might be a bit of a longer one because we also have an ACT exercise called Alcohol and Sadness. So it'll be a good one. We always start with a quote. This one is by the Dalai Lama. Human happiness and human satisfaction must ultimately come from within oneself. All right. In 1943, Abraham Maslow published his now famous Hierarchy of Needs, illustrated on the next page. Hey, you can look at it while I read. He was interested in human motivation and what made people behave the way they do. He proposed that people must meet their lower needs first before they will be motivated to move up to fulfill their needs at the next level. If a caveman was starving and there was a bison on the next ridge, he'd forego the need for safety, pick up the nearest rock or stick, and go hunt down that beast for supper. Once we have our physiological needs met, food, water, shelter, etc., we can move up to meet our need for safety. Imagine you're in an abusive relationship. Can you see how you might meet the need for safety? Can you see how you might meet the need for safety by getting so drunk that you black out and forget how bad your life is? Filling our own needs. Human beings haven't changed much over the past several thousand years, but our surroundings have changed dramatically. If we drink in social situations, it may be filling the need for safety because we feel safer when we fit in with the crowd. If we're working at a soul-sucking job we hate, we drink to deal with that stress. It could be filling a need for security. You're trading the stress of an unfulfilling job for the security of a regular paycheck and benefits. And the bottle is how you're able to cope. The need for connection. Connection and belonging are other often unmet needs. We used to live in tribal societies and extended families where human connection happened. Okay, sorry. This happens when I read like several in a row. I start to, okay. We used to live in tribal societies and extended families where human connection happened naturally. These days, we're encouraged to be independent. We isolate, at least in caveat in this culture. That's not true of every culture. We isolate ourselves at home and at work. We commute alone, even if we're surrounded by people in a crowded subway. We plug into our mobile devices and ignore the world, connecting with our friends virtually, while our true human need for connection goes unmet. But drinking is something we can come together as a group and partake in. Social media and technology can give us a false sense of connection, but it's not the same physical electric connection we get from being engaged in conversation with another human in the same room. We can't touch someone's arm to console them on Facebook. We can't smell someone's intoxicating perfume on Instagram. We can't taste that succulent cherry pie on Snapchat. Our senses are what make us human. A computer can take in digital information and decide how to react. We are not computers. We need that sensual input to feel alive. We also have a human need for love and esteem, especially from ourselves. When we spend all day beating ourselves up for being stupid, weak, fat, clumsy, or whatever, it creates some pretty intense trauma. The old saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me, is so wrong. Words do hurt, especially when they come from ourselves. So we drink to numb that pain and quiet the internal voice that's saying we're not doing good enough or we haven't done enough with our day. We have a need to care for ourselves, and we do that by indulging in an activity that we think will make us feel good, like drinking, shopping, gambling, or binging on chocolate. It may seem overwhelming at first to think about the fact you may be drinking to fulfill unmet needs. But shining a light on the possibility is a start. Becoming aware of the fact that there may be unmet needs in your life will often be enough to lead you down the path to answers. Just asking the questions below will lead you to answers. Today, ask yourself, what are the possible unmet needs in my life right now? How was I using alcohol to fill a need? How could I fill that need in a healthier way? Day 22, journal questions. Remember, all the wisdom you seek is actually inside you. The most important words in this experiment are the ones you tell yourself. Take some time to answer these questions in a journal, a voice memo to yourself, or simply by speaking the answers out loud for only you to hear. 1. My unmet needs. Take some time and consider, what are the possible unmet needs in my life right now? Doesn't she usually say you in these? And this time she said my. That threw me off. That threw me off when I was typing it too. 2. How has alcohol been the answer? Reflect on how you might have been using alcohol as a stopgap in order to meet your needs. And 3, consciously choosing. Now that you have this awareness, how can you consciously choose to meet your needs? How can you fulfill your needs in healthier ways? What new vehicles or tools can you introduce into your life to ensure your needs are met? ACT number 9, alcohol and sadness. Awareness. Quote, I drink when I'm sad. It takes the edge off. Unquote. Many people believe alcohol not only helps them have a good time with their friends, but also relieves the physical feelings of sadness. They feel better while they're drinking. Let's name this belief. Alcohol relieves my sadness. Clarity. It's pretty obvious where this belief comes from. We've all observed people in our lives and in the media feeling good with a drink in their hands. Movies and TV shows are constantly equating drinking with happiness. But we've also watched the sad drunks crying their eyes out in public after a night of heavy drinking. I know for me, the feelings of sadness that were already present only got worse after I'd had a few drinks. So what gives? Which one is it? Does drinking make you happy or sad? Alcohol does give a little reprieve from our feelings, but not for long. If you've ever had a drink to help you escape from sadness, you know it never lasts. To find out if alcohol makes us happy or sad, we have to understand what's going on in our bodies chemically. Can you think of a time when this happened for you? Maybe you started out feeling great, but as the evening progressed, you ended up weakly or just you ended up weaky. You ended up weepy or just bummed out. There's a physiological explanation for this. You're definitely not imagining it. This effect is related to something called the biphasic response to alcohol. We touched on it early when we talked about blood alcohol content, BAC. How can alcohol make us feel good for a little while and ultimately be a depressant? Biphasic means there are two phases happening when alcohol enters the body. The BAC rises and then it falls. Depending on when you last ate, one drink can raise your BAC for 30 to 60 minutes. My friends and I used to skip eating just so we could feel tipsy faster. Maybe you've done the same thing. But sooner or later, your BAC starts to fall and you don't feel as happy. So what do? You have another drink to keep the stimulating effects going. While that uptick is happening, you feel excited, relaxed, and maybe a bit numb because the alcohol is artificially stimulating your pleasure center. Then, inevitably, the downturn happens and alcohol's true nature as a depressant comes out to play. You become anxious, depressed, sad, or weepy. Maybe you get sleepy. Your body is compensating for the endorphins by releasing counter chemicals. It wants you to come back down. And down you come until you start to feel really bad. The BAC falls slower than it rises, though, so you feel bad longer than you felt good. The negative feelings start when the BAC starts falling or gets high enough that it reaches 0.05 to 0.06. Many people don't notice the increasing negativity, though, because they sleep off the effects and only notice the next morning when they feel terrible. And because your body starts to feel miserable at a BAC of 0.05 to 0.06, even though you could tolerate that much alcohol, you can't keep the good feelings going all night long, either because of a falling BAC or because you've reached such a high BAC that you will inevitably feel sad and depressed. You can't help it. It's chemical. One of the things that disguises this phenomenon is the fact that we mainly drink in the evening. Your BAC continues to rise for a few hours, and then the miserable falling of your BAC occurs during your sleep. Sure, it interrupts your sleep patterns, but other than that, you're not aware of the sad feelings that the alcohol causes during the long decline in your BAC. When I was 17, I was diagnosed with a major depressive disorder. It came and went. I took all sorts of medications and was always in some counselor's office. Sometimes I wanted to sleep all day. Other times I couldn't sleep at all. The most serious bout I had was after my youngest son was born. It was a terrible time, and my drinking escalated because I didn't want to feel that sadness. What I didn't know then was that I was actually making things so much worse. At one point, I was taking 3 antidepressant medications and a sleeping pill. None of those mixed with alcohol, but I was desperate for relief, so I drank anyway, which meant I was dangerously combining pharmaceuticals with alcohol and probably rendering those medications completely ineffective. Tragically, there's a strong link between alcohol and suicide. In fact, drinking is the most common factor with all suicides. More than one third of victims were drinking prior to death, and statistics show that people who are dependent on alcohol are 120 times more likely to die by suicide. 120 times. That's because alcohol causes depression and makes us act impulsively. It's heartbreaking, and so many people have had suicide touch their lives in one way or another. A dear friend of mine took his own life. When you're using alcohol to self medicate and escape pain, drinking takes on a dark side. Maybe you're trying to forget some childhood trauma, or you have postpartum depression like I did. Whatever the reason, your pain is real, and no one is blaming you for wanting to get rid of it. But the problem is that the chemicals you're using to self medicate are making things worse. And the more you use alcohol to try to take away the bad feelings, the more of it you need to reach that same temporary belief. And the worse you feel, the depression not only doesn't go away, it can actually escalate. And what's so wrong with feeling sad occasionally anyway? We're conditioned to believe that we should never experience discomfort. But why is that exactly? TV commercials make it clear that we shouldn't tolerate feeling bad. Anytime we have the slightest inkling of a negative feeling, we should numb it, medicate it, or run away from it. But in reality, that is just not true. Nothing incredible has ever happened that didn't have at least a little pain, sadness, or discomfort. Consider the birth of a child or even those first awkward dates. Those things are not entirely comfortable, yet they are some of the most profoundly joyous occasions. Heck, there's an entire period in our history dedicated to the sadness of one man and the genius that came from it. Picasso's Picasso's blue period. Trying to get rid of all sadness, all discomfort is contrary to the principles of how the universe works. Consider what a seed must do to become a tree. Two things. First, it must cease to be a seed by changing and breaking out of its shell, both very intense things. And second, it must go down, grow roots before it grows up and becomes a tree. Sadness is normal and natural. It is something we can learn from. When we tell ourselves it's wrong to feel sad, as I did for many years, we compound the feeling of sadness with a feeling of something being wrong with us, of guilt. It's okay to feel all of our emotions. Nothing is wrong with us. And imagine what we might learn or create if we allow ourselves, like Picasso did, to feel. Along with painting, so much great poetry and literature has been produced by artists exploring and being present with feelings like sadness. Feelings that we've been taught by society and advertising are somehow bad. I have to wonder how any feeling can be bad, especially one that produces so much beauty. Once I figured out how to reverse my unconscious conditioning and stopped drinking, I was able to work with a naturopathic doctor on actually curing my depression. Over the course of several years, I put practices into my life like mindfulness, healthy, protein rich meals, and regular exercise, all of which combined to make me happier than I'd ever been. And I was able to get off all 3 of my antidepressant and anti anxiety medications. But not before I spent many times lying on the floor of my closet crying and feeling like my family would be better off without me in it. I had those thoughts. I had those times. I felt worthless. And all that seems completely foreign to me now, though. And it's terrifying to think what I might have done given the close link between alcohol and suicide. If you're in this place now, if you're self medicating with alcohol and hoping it'll make things better, consider what's actually happening in your bloodstream. Think hard about the fact that no matter how much you drink, you will come down and the depressive effects will take hold. Depression lies to us, and alcohol makes those lies believable. So when life drags you backward with hardship and sadness, it simply means that you're getting ready to launch forward into something great. Out of the pain and sadness, excuse me, you can find the courage and strength to truly heal yourself instead of masking the symptoms with alcohol's temporary lift. Something great is waiting for you. I know it. Turnaround. The opposite of alcohol relieves my sadness is alcohol doesn't relieve my sadness or alcohol makes me sad. Come up with as many ways you can that the opposite is as true or truer than the original belief. It's a good one. Ugh. It's always like somber to speak about suicide and sadness and depression, and as sobering and somber as that is, there's also a lot of hope here, right? Saying that when if we're stuck in those places and we're drinking, um, there's so much hope in stopping drinking, right? And Annie has her like testimony to that. I have my own personal testimony to that, and I can't wait to hear your testimony to that. Tomorrow is day 23. The chapter is titled Alcohol's Effect on Your Health. So we're diving into it, and we have another ACT exercise called Alcohol and Anger. So I will see you then. I hope you're feeling really proud of yourself, really confident and capable and empowered. Let me know if there's any way whatsoever that I can support you or cheer you on. Yeah, have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.